I'm Chris Abiyad. I'm the founder of Friends Capital, a liquid token fund that's based on fundamentals. I spent 10 years in Web2 prior to this on the product side. And I believe that crypto products are a subset of digital products and should abide by most core principles of building digital products. This talk is not super technical. It's top down, and it's really thinking about how to build a product in crypto. And it's very important to think about a problem in a specific way, to think about a very focused audience, and that problem should be extremely dire to the user, a real problem. And a lot of times we see solutions looking for problems, and I think it's quite important to start at the problem side of things and define it with super high definition. And then once the solution that you're proposing is thought through, you want to think that, is your solution 10x better? And your hypothesis solution should be better, faster, cheaper, not all three, but it should add value to what exists already. So once your hypothesis solution is starting to take shape, it's important to build a narrative complete product. And basically the emphasis here is on the narrative side of things, to complete the journey from a potential user with a problem to a user with a solution. And that's the emphasis, rather than being on the minimum viable. It's like if you can build a lot and ship fast, build more, as long as you're completing the narrative arc. And so basically, as a builder in Web3 and crypto, you want to build, measure, learn, keep iterating, so that we go from a problem that is super well-defined all the way to a user with a solution and complete the narrative arc. So this is something that on the use case sides is very important to apply to the product that's being built. And I think one framework that helped me a lot in my Web2 days was to think about those three axes. Is my product solving a use case that is applicable to a broad audience, a large number of users? Is the product meant to be used with high frequency of usage? And does it add a lot of value? So if we take an example of a winning use case, you can look at Helium, that I'm sure everybody's familiar with here. But Helium is providing $5 data plans to Miami residents. It started with a user base that is small and niche, but it can grow along this axis as it offers this product to a broader audience. From a usage perspective, this is a product that will be used daily, multiple times a day, so it's quite high on that axis. And the value is excellent compared to the rest of the market because it's extremely affordable. So as you can see, their growth strategy for this use case is going to be to grow alongside the user's axis. Another use case of a product in crypto is Drip, for example, Drip House. And we see that today it's focused on a niche audience with Solana NFT users. As it grows, it can grow to hit any Web2 users. And the usage can be infrequent, weekly, grow to daily as the product evolves. And the value it's offering is not only awesome collectibles, but really it's solving a problem. It's connecting creators with their audiences directly. Now, outside of crypto, an example that is of a product that took off big time, and it's playing in a very commoditized industry, bottled water. It's super commoditized, it's very high, it's highly undifferentiated, and you have a new provider that came in, a new company that came in and found a true problem to focus on. They realized that a portion of the people wanted to go out and party and socialize without drinking alcohol. They didn't want to drink water at parties and whatnot. So they wanted to still look cool and feel like they're engaging socially while not drinking alcohol. So they introduced liquid debt, just a a water can that looks super cool and that solves a problem for a niche audience. And that product worked super successfully because they focused on one particular problem and they solved it properly. Even though the users is still niche, it does not apply to the mass market like any bottled water. And the usage is less frequent. You might not drink it every day at home, but so that's to say that products don't have to be super high on all three axes, but they have to be high on one axis and be extremely like strong on one axis at least. So you get the idea, and now how do we go after a market? And I think that if we start at Web3, all of Web3 has 3.5 million daily active addresses. Chess.com has 20 million daily active users. Chess.com by itself. So, and these 3.5 million addresses, they're spread out across many ecosystems, across many categories. Some folks are super interested in finance, some folks are super interested in art, others are interested in retail and loyalty. So it's a small audience that's quite fragmented. Now, a second audience from there is crypto. We have 420 million token holders. And the big difference, in my opinion, of these two markets is that the 3.5 million active addresses, these wallets, these folks are on chain. The token holders, they could be on centralized exchanges. They can be at Coinbase, at Binance. They're not interacting with the Web3 rails that we're building. Okay, so a lot of use cases do not apply to them. And then Web2 with 5.3 billion users. So just to put it in perspective, I think Web3 is a tiny dot compared to crypto and compared to Web2. And how do you go after a massive market like Web2 if you want to start there? You can't just attack and tackle the whole market. You want to find a wedge and then start expanding from there. Okay? And the point of finding the wedge is super important because that's your entry into a market, into a tiny market with a very specific audience and a very specific problem that your solution addresses. So if we were to look at consumer applications, a lot of consumer applications should start with the Web2 audience. They should go after gamers, for example, that are on Web2 rails, not on crypto rails, because it's hyper competitive on crypto rails and you're targeting 3.5 million active addresses, so it's better to start your wedge at the Web2 side of things and then grow all the way to Web3. If we look at infra on the other side, it's very difficult to build an oracle, for example, starting with Web2. It does not apply. So it's got to start with Web3 and then slowly build towards Web2. And that's okay. It's just a different go-to market. If we look at DeFi, for example, DeFi can start with the 420 million token holders. These are people who do already have the tokens, and they probably need to put these tokens to work. They probably need to stake them. They probably need to borrow against them. They might not be on-chain, but at least DeFi can solve this problem for a much bigger audience initially. And then, of course, grow all the way to Web2 and beyond. So how can we think about traction? And it's a function of usage and value. And on the usage side, there's the classic toothbrush test, like can you use the product twice a day? And is the product a product that's being used multiple times a day? Like a coffee, toothbrush, Instagram, Uber. Is it a weekly, more monthly type product, Airbnb, travel, getting your paycheck or whatnot? Or is it a yearly plus? Is it an insurance, a mattress shopping, or a lease? And this is basically the axis here. And in order to kind of like to build that traction, you want to make sure you know where you're sitting and how you can grow that traction and that engagement. From a value perspective, like super high value crypto payments, right? They're borderless, they settle super fast, they're cheap, they're amazing compared to the alternative. Airbnb, it's quite good. I leave for 3 days and I can rent my house. Uber is amazing. Medium, it's basically semi-commoditized things, different credit cards, different Netflix or whatnot. And then low, it's things like that are super commoditized, right? Like street coffee or cable TV or whatnot. These are not competing on value. These are competing on users, right? You want to be Starbucks. You're not trying to build the best coffee. You're trying to just appeal to the biggest audience and have them show up every day 3 times. So just to recap a little bit, if we think about starting with a specific problem and a specific audience, building a solution that appeals directly to this audience and to this problem, that solves one small problem initially, then iterating to keep growing that narrative arc, and slowly growing alongside those 3 different axes, whether it's users, whether it's value, or whether it's usage. Let's get building, and thank you for having me.